I own some of the most popular high proof bourbons you can find, and today we're going to be ranking each and every one of them to find out which one is the best of the best. I'm Jeff, this is G Whiskey, stick around. Alright, some alternatives today. If you're new here or you're coming over from Bourbon Tube, welcome. This channel is mostly about scotch and other single malts, but I'll be damned if I don't enjoy good bourbon from time to time. Thing is, if I'm getting out of my single malt comfort zone and I'm looking at a bourbon, I do not want some shrinking violet 80 proof pussycat. I want something cask strength. I want it barrel proof. If it's going into my mouth, it needs to have some balls. Hold on a minute. Some of these whiskeys hover just above 50%, some go as high as 70%, so there's nothing on this list that I would describe as gentle. These bottles are ordered from least favorite to favorite. I'll give you the specs, I'll give you the batch if there is one, I'll give you some tasting notes, and I'll briefly explain why I ranked it where I did. Beyond that, I'll be including a score and 3-word descriptors. We've got 9 bottles to get through today, so we're going to try and speed run through them. And listen, some of these are hard to get, some are easier, some are more expensive, some cheaper. I'm not worried about any of that. I am just coming at this from flavor. Finally, as always, I do have a mystery pour in my glass. This is a stunning bourbon, but it is a limited release from way back, I think way back in 2018, I believe. So not something that's widely available, which is why it gets relegated to a mystery pour, but absolutely beautiful stuff. If you want a hint, here is a blurry picture of it, and let's not waste any more time. Best barrel-proof bourbons I own. Let's jump into this list. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. At the back of this list, we have Larceny Barrel Proof. This is a wheated bourbon out of Heaven Hill, and the batch I've got is batch A24 from May of 2024. This stuff is 62.7% or 125.4 proof, and the nose gives us chili pepper, very cinnamon forward, spicy Mexican chocolate, and spearmint. The palate and finish are spicy again. We get loads of chili pepper, we get some bitter coffee, we get some cinnamon heart candies like Fireball whiskey. There's loads of oak and almost a cooling menthol wintergreen effect. All right, so this one is at the back of this list because it is too oaky for me. It's oaky to the point that I find it over oaked, I find it too drying, and I don't like that cinnamon heart candy flavor. Also, that menthol wintergreen note kind of reminds me of menthol cigarettes, which I don't love. I would describe this whiskey as over oaked, cinnamon, and drying. And listen, it is possible that other batches are better. This is the only batch of this stuff I've ever tried, but I can't say that I find it balanced or that I enjoy it very much. So score here is going to be 3 out of 10. Next up, we have Knob Creek Cask Strength 10-year-old. This one is a limited release. It came out last year in 2024, I believe. And this one is a travel retail exclusive, only available at a few select airports that include LAX and New York. This one comes in at a very healthy 61.2% or 122.4 proof. And this one was actually picked up at the Los Angeles airport by my buddy Tim. Tim, thank you very much. Now, I do believe this is a unique offering from Knob Creek. They do have a few cask strength releases, but I think this is the only one with a 10-year-old age statement. On the nose, this gives us loads of toffee, dark caramel, brown sugar, there's vanilla, and there's that classic Jim Beam nuttiness. This is spicy, sharp. It's a bit stabby, actually. There's definitely an ethanol burn to this. There's some bitter oak spice, tannins, bitter resins, and roasted nuts. Now, when I think about this whiskey, it's a little bit frustrating because we do have some very nice flavors in here, but it's too sharp and it's too hot. Now, like with any cask strength whiskey, if you add some water, that will calm things down a little bit. It'll make it more rounded. But if you drink this neat, it is so sharp that it's almost metallic tasting. So it is a whiskey with potential, but it's not very balanced. And honestly, I did expect more from this, especially considering the age and the ABV. This should be better. Our key words for this one are classic beam, sharp, and rugged. This will get a 4 out of 10. Coming in at number 7, we have Booker's 2023 01E. E here meaning export, so this is actually the export version of Charlie's batch. This one is 63.3% ABV or 126.6 proof. It's 7 years old, 1 month. And the nose is going to give us some soft vanilla, some beam nuttiness, roasted cashews, brown sugar, cinnamon. This is a low rye bourbon, but I do get touches of rye at the back. The palate and finish here are nice, rounded, and not too sweet. Again, quite nutty. We get cinnamon, nutmeg, some orange rind, hints of rye again, and vanilla Coke. Now, this is an interesting whiskey. It's actually from the same brand, the same distillery as that Knob Creek 10-year-old that we just had. This one is 3 years younger, and it's substantially better. And the thing about Bokers is I like them. I've always liked them. They're not quite as deep or as rich or as sweet as other bourbons, which is where I think they do lose some people. But I do like the vanilla in here. I like those tart, orangey citrus notes. And I'll admit this is maybe not a top tier bourbon, but it is a really nice pour. Our keywords here are intense, nutty, and even a little bit bright. This is good stuff. Gets a 6 out of 10. I think number 6 is going to surprise a few people for not being higher on the list, but I've got SmokeEye Hill here. This is a pretty popular bourbon. It won an award last year for being better than George T. Stagg, which is an assertion that was treated very dubiously by the bourbon world. However, that was a different batch. The one I've got is more recent, and I have reviewed it. I reviewed it a while back. I like it. It's nuclear. What's our ABV here? The ABV is 67.1% ABV or 134.2 proof. This one is a 5-year-old whiskey, and it got really hyped for a minute. I'm not sure if it's still in the spotlight now. I'm not sure if people are still talking about it, but I sure do have it. On the nose, this gives us heavy notes of caramel, brown sugar, oak, tobacco, cinnamon, and some nuttiness. The palate and finish here give us some serious intensity. This is rich, it's thick, it's heavy. We get oak, we get spice, vanilla, tobacco, dark fruits, and a touch of earthiness. So like I said, I have reviewed this before and I liked it then. I still do like it now. It's definitely got a very toasted oak flavor, which is going to be take it or leave it for a lot of people. Yeah, good stuff. I do think the Stagg comparison does do this bottle a disservice. I do think this is better viewed as its own thing. It does have a lot of intensity, which is maybe where that comparison comes from. But either way, when I reviewed this one, I gave it an 8. We're going to bring that down to a 7.5 now. Still excellent though. Our keywords here are rich, toasted, and oaky, and we've reached the point now where all of these bourbons are pretty highly recommended from here moving forward. At number 5, we have Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof, which is definitely not a bourbon, and we should never call it a bourbon, right guys? This one comes in at 63% or 126 proof, and mine was bottled on February 1st of 2024. Now, this is going to be the whiskey that I've had the most of on this list. I've had a couple of bottles of this one prior. Currently, I don't have a full-size one. I just have the adorable size. But that should tell you something. It's a bottle I've always liked. It's available, it's affordable, and it's kind of classic. On the nose, we start off with this kind of all-rounded bourbon flavor, even though this is not a bourbon flavor. What are you even talking about? This is a completely different class of spirit. We also get caramels in here. There's some brown sugars. There's some baked apples, red apples. There's fruity elements. And there's pancakes drizzled in honey. On the palate and finish, once again, this is kind of a classic. I love the balance between the salted caramel, the fruit, and the oak. Once again, we get those drizzled pancakes. We get some spices from the oak. We even get a touch of orange tang, or dare I say, sunny delight, way at the back. Honestly, guys, I still love this one. It's not really treading any new ground, but it's one of those available, affordable bottles that just gives you good bang for buck. I know I'm not meant to be dwelling on value in this video, but it just is. Now, of course, this is a single barrel product, so that makes it a batch product like so many other bottles on this list, and as a result of that, it's not going to be consistent in terms of flavor. But having had a few bottles of this, I can say that it's pretty consistent in terms of quality. For our score on this one, I'm going to land on 7, which is a little bit confusing because it is higher on the list than the SmokeEye Hill, which I scored a 7.5, but I'll tell you what. Numbers are hard, aren't they? For our descriptors, I would say that this is balanced, it's classic, and it's bang for buck. Again, highly recommended. All right, at number 4, we have Weller Full Proof, which is on the lighter side of this list, coming in at 57% ABV or 114 proof, which by any other metric would be a very high ABV, but not on this list. I'll tell you what, you son of a bitch. This one is a wheated bourbon, and it's very sought after. Apparently, it's really hard to find at MSRP in the States, or so I hear, which is unfortunate. On the nose, this is very dry and very floral. We get floral honey, we get taffy candy, we get some oak, and we get some gingerbread cookies. On the palate and finish, this is even more floral and heathery with those light honey notes, so not like this dark, rich honey, a very bright, very floral, as I said, type of honey. And it's also very waxy. This whiskey is like sunshine in a bottle compared to most other things on this list. Anyway, we also get some yellow fruits in here, some baked green apples, some trifle. I'm not sure if you guys have trifle in the States, but it looks like this. There's also lemon lozenges, there's ginger, there's tart orchard fruits, and white wine, of all things. Okay, so being the only wheated whiskey on this list that I actually like, Larceny doesn't count. I have to say that this one is very unique. It is atypical. Again, this could just be a batch thing, but in this one, we get some really nice, bright flavors and complexity. This is like if Deanston Virgin Oak and Glenmurray Chardonnay had a child that was a bourbon and a bodybuilder. Now, I don't know too much about the batches for this one. It is a Total Wine barrel select, if that tells you anything. Again, I'm kind of outside the bourbon world, so I apologize for my ignorance. But listen, this is a weird one, but I dig it. So score is going to be 8 out of 10. Our keywords are going to be tart, bright, and white wine. All right, next up, we have 13th Century Bourbon Sportsman Edition. I've got the one with an elk kind of etched or carved inside the glass, which is kind of cool. This is easily going to be the most obscure entry on this list. So what do we know about it? It is made using toasted American white oak barrels. It is sourced from Ross and Squibb, and it is aged and bottled in Colorado. The standout notes on the nose here are going to be sweet cherry, oak, and leather. And on the palate and finish, it's going to be very intense. We get this thick, viscous texture. There is a bit of burn here. This is very high proof. This one comes in at 140 proof or 70 ABV. We get a nice fruitiness in here. We get some cherries. We get some berry jam. There's also thick, dark caramel, loads of leather. There's some resin here, as well as some very rich oaky notes. All right, so first of all, at 140 proof, this is hazmat stuff. It is a beast, and I definitely do prefer it with water. That said, I've had bourbons at 120 proof that feel sharper and hotter than this, so it definitely is a quality bourbon. This stuff is oaky. You need to be ready for a good dose of wood.
Ladies.
In fact, I would say that this is borderline too oaky, but just borderline, not enough to impinge on my enjoyment. So this is a slept-on whiskey. It's a slept-on brand. I don't know how many of you out there have heard of it, but definitely recommended. Really good. Our keywords here are cola, oak, and leather, and this gets an easy 8.5 out of 10. At number 3, we have Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and this is batch B523, which people hated because this was actually the first release that was under 12 years old. Now, I don't really care about that because, like I said, I'm not really in the bourbon world. This is my first bottle of this stuff. I've never had any of the other batches, and whatever. This stuff comes in at 62.1% ABV or 124.2 proof, and it is 11 years and 5 months old. And I got this stuff just because I've been hearing good things about this for years. And I don't mean this batch, but this release. So I was just really curious to try it. So let's see what we get here. Well, first off, on the nose, we get some brown sugar, we get some oak, we get some caramel, there's some cinnamon, there's vanilla icing, and there's honey. On the palate and finish, we get some more oak, we get some rich honey, there's some butterscotch, there's heavy cream, there's like straw or hay in here, there's ginger, and there's cinnamon. As for my thoughts on this, I think it is awesome. I know I'm not supposed to like this batch, but I do. In fact, I would say this is one of the stronger bourbons that I have, which is funny because as far as I know, this is also one of the more available and affordable bottles in the US. Either way, what's fun about this stuff is that it really isn't that complex of a whiskey. In fact, I would say it's quite simple, but the flavors that it does have, it does very well, and it's all just a matter of execution. So the score here is going to be 8.5 again. I think this is an absolute charmer of a bourbon. Our keywords are going to be sweet, lively, and balanced. All right, next up, we have a brand that everyone loves, no one has any strong opinions on, and you're all going to agree with me placing it really high at number 2 on the list. We've got Blanton's Gold. Our ABV is going to be the lowest on this list. This one comes in at 51.5% ABV or 103 proof. So basically, this is just disgusting water. The liquid in here should be between 6 and 8 years old. It's single barrel. It's out of Buffalo Trace. This stuff is super collectible and far too expensive. On the nose, this is going to be a lot more subtle than the rest of this list, which tracks because we have a lower ABV. Our notes in here are going to be ginger, lemon zest. There is a dryness to it. We get some tart green apples. We do have a high rye mash bill here, and it shows because we do get a nice rye grassiness in here. On the palate and finish, we get a beautiful creamy vanilla in here. We get a nice touch of rye, and even though rye is not my favorite, it is so well integrated and so well represented here that I absolutely love it. There's also tobacco in here, there's honey, there's apple, there's oak, there's cinnamon, and there's some vanilla Coke. Okay, so this stuff is beautiful, but again, keep in mind I'm coming from the world of single malts, and I do value a lot of like subtlety and nuance. I know how prissy that sounds, but it's true. And it's not a favorite among my friends. A lot of my friends will say this doesn't have enough kick, it doesn't have enough intensity. So if that's what you're looking for, this is not the one to go for. Also, I'm not going to defend the fact that this is really hard to find, it's really collectible, and it's really expensive. None of that is cool. But for flavor, I love how the vanilla and the cola and the rye bounce off of each other. This is layered, it is interesting, and it's really, really good. This gets a 9 out of 10. Our keywords here are elegant, complex, and restrained. And listen, as much as I do want to recommend this one because I think it's very good, I'm not going to do that just because of all the nonsense surrounding Blantons and this bottle in particular. But that said, if you can get a sample or try it at a bar, or if you know someone that does have a bottle, it's worth checking out. All right, number one is going to be Stagg because of course it is. It is the stuff of legend. It is really tough to find at MSRP. This stuff flies off the shelves the moment it hits them. My batch is 24C. It comes in at 64.45% ABV, so 128.9 proof. This one came out in late 2024, and it's the best whiskey I have. I think it's a banger. Best bourbon anyway. The nose of this one gives us cherry, we get leather, we get vanilla, there's tobacco, licorice, resin, marzipan, and molasses. On the palate and finish, we get a thick, dark molasses, we get more resin, there's burnt vanilla, there's dark caramel, spicy oak, there's cola, and there's pepper. And listen, this is just a ridiculous bourbon. I don't usually understand bourbons, and they're way over the top secondary prices, although I do hear that things are getting better. But this one, I actually kind of get it. I understand why this is in very high demand, because this is meant to sell between $60 and $70, which is insane bang for buck because it's so deep and so satisfying. That's what she said. So this would be one of the best deals in the bourbon world if you can get it for MSRP. I've got 2 batches of this stuff on the go right now, and both are nothing short of spectacular. This bourbon gets a 9 out of 10. Our keywords here are going to be rich, robust, and powerful. All right, that was the list, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure you're all in agreement that I should put Blanton's very high up on the list, and I'm sure you all agree with the order and placement of every single thing here. None of you have any notes. But on the off chance that you do, or if there's something you want to chime in on, let me know down below in the comments. Maybe you'd like to reorganize the list. How would you place all of these bottles? Or maybe you have some recommendations. What are some high-proof bourbon bottles that I absolutely should check out? Finally, if you stuck around to find out what the mystery pour in my glass is here, this is a batch whiskey that came out a while ago. I know a lot of these are batch whiskeys, but apparently the newer batches aren't as good. I don't know anything about that. This is the only batch I've had, and it is one of the best bourbons I have. What I'm drinking is Woodford Reserve's Masters Collection Batch Proof. This is a bottle that is still in production. They kind of vary the production with each batch, and the modern batches, the more recent batches, don't seem to resonate with a lot of people in the States. Again, I can't speak to that. What I've got is a 2018 release from them, and our ABV is 62.9% or 125.8 proof. It's the only one from the series that I've tried, and like I said, I absolutely love it. I would easily rank it in the top 3 bourbons that I own. I do have a Woodford bias though. I like the standard release, I like the double oaked release, and I do think it's a bourbon that lends itself well to single malt Scotch lovers. So yeah, excellent stuff. An older batch, but if you can try it, worth checking out. And that will bring us to the end of the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, I want to hear all your thoughts down below in the comments. Patrons over here, if you want to help support the channel, I'll put Patreon and PayPal links down below, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.